Super excited to have our guest here today, Jay Baer. I'll talk more about him in a second. So if you intended to be at Revenue Rockstars, sponsored by SharpSpring with Jay Baer, you're at the right place. And we expect to have, this is the place to be. And we are doing this live. If you couldn't tell, this is a live concert, ladies and gentlemen. So if you are in the agency space or you're just a senior digital marketer and you want to know more about driving revenue throughout the funnel, that is why we built this series. And we built it around that purpose for people just like yourself. If you are new to SharpSpring and you don't know about exactly who we are, so SharpSpring, we have a revenue growth platform, which is really an end-to-end sales and marketing automation platform plus a CRM. And we built this entire platform to work together, built around customer data. So it helps you optimize the entire of the customer lifecycle from first lead through nurture to close, and then on to retaining and optimizing your relationships with your existing customers. So I mean, you can see we have a number of different tools there to manage that throughout the customer lifecycle. If you're a marketer, reaching the right leads with targeted communication, winning more customers with dynamic customization and personalization, converting deals faster with all of these features as they work together. And if you're in the agency space, we really help you build higher value relationships and deliver measurable results for your customers. So that's why we do what we do, and that's what SharpSpring is all about, which is why this kind of content is super important to us. Before I introduce Jay here, some quick housekeeping items here. So first of all, questions, please chat them in, and via the Q&A panel here on Restream. Your phone lines are all muted. It's just Jay and I that are live. And yes, we are recording today's presentation, and we'll definitely be sharing that with you. We're going to talk more about the prizes here coming up in a second, but first I wanted to talk about this one, which is the Revenue Rockstars concert T-shirt. I don't always drive, but when I do, it is real revenue. And you can get a copy of this T-shirt for yourself when you attend a SharpSpring product demo, and we'd love to show you the entirety of the platform. And in a kind of post-pandemic world or current pandemic world that seems to be continuing a bit, we have adopted QR codes so you can find the page there really quickly. But we're definitely going to flash the URL up on the screen. If you have not registered for the series and you're just joining us on the live stream, make sure that you register for the entirety of the series at sharpspring.com/revenue rockstars. And again, if you attend a demo, we'll give you a concert T-shirt. So my guest today is Jay Baer, who many of you know if you're here. He's a seventh generation entrepreneur, author of 6 best-selling books. Jay, one of my favorites is Utility, phenomenal book.
Thank you.
Creator of 5 multi-million-dollar companies. A marketing and customer experience expert. I can attest to that. And he founded a radio station and is also a former DJ. And so he has a whole lot of reason to be here on a Revenue Rockstars series. So Jay, I'll pass it to you to kick us off.
Thank you so much, Chip House. Fantastic to be with you. Hey, everybody. I can absolutely agree to what Chip said about the SharpSpring platform. I'm a SharpSpring customer myself and have been for quite some time. It really does pretty much all the things that you want a revenue growth platform to do all in one package. The interoperability makes it a lot easier to get things done, saves me a ton of time, and allows me to generate a lot of revenue. I am not a rock star. In fact, I am manifestly non-musical. But as Chip did note, I am a former DJ, and so I've been around rock stars enough. Also used to book concerts, so I've seen rock stars in their habitat. And so I know a little bit about what an actual rock star looks like, but I know probably more about what a revenue rock star looks like. There's a few criteria that Chip and I think sort of describe who or what is a revenue rock star. We want to make sure that each and every one of you not only gets a T-shirt and other fabulous prizes, which we'll announce here in a moment, We want to make sure that you come out of this series at the conclusion of this program. And this series overall will end about Christmas time, I think. So we're a little before Christmas, I think. Chip, is that right?
It's about, I was actually going to go into January.
Into January. Okay, so right after the first of the year. By then, I can promise you this, my friends. I can promise you this. If you go to all of these programs I'm going to tell you about in just a little bit, Chip and I guarantee you will be a revenue rock star. I cannot guarantee you they'll be able to play guitar or drums or bass or any other instrument, but you will definitely be a revenue rock star. Chip, what's the first criteria for a revenue rock star?
It's this one here, Jay. They focus on revenue, not just vanity metrics. And anxious to get your take on this, but to me, this was one of the cruxes of what we meant with revenue rock stars. It's a more modern way to approach marketing where you are working with your sales team. You're not just focused on things like impressions or clicks or followers. You are focused as a marketer closely with your sales partners on things like real revenue. Is that right?
Yeah, no question. And one of the challenges I think that modern marketers have is that there's too many other metrics, right? It's not that marketing is not measurable. It's probably too measurable. So there's lots of other metrics that kind of get in the way of, well, did you actually make money? And revenue rock stars are laser focused, especially on the B2B side, laser focused on revenue generation and really working hand in glove with their partners on the sales side.
Yeah, absolutely. And, they're measured marketers too, right? I mean, so they know how to sing the scale, so to speak.
Yes, nice metaphor for revenue rock stars. The second one is revenue rock stars know what works and what doesn't. Random acts of marketing is the worst way to do marketing. But it's a way that I see a lot of people falling into because there are so many choices. We are surrounded by marketing choices and more are created every day of how to spend our time and spend our money. And a lot of times we're just sort of firing bullets off in the air, hoping that a bird flies by simultaneously. And then if you're lucky and a bird does fly by, you're like, wow, what a great hunter I am. But maybe it worked and maybe you did generate revenue, but you're not really sure why. And maybe you just got lucky. So the revenue rock stars really understand what works and what doesn't, and not just categorically in marketing, but what works for their particular business and why.
Yeah, so this means you're setting up campaign tracking, right? Anytime you launch a campaign, you're scouring through your tracking and analytics, really understanding all of your marketing and how it's performing from the top of the funnel to the bottom.
And your lead scoring, which is one of my favorite features of SharpSpring, actually.
Yeah, no question. So, yeah, you and I have talked about this new research that just came out, Jay. Forrester published some research that actually showed the number of folks in an organization involved in a B2B sale, as well as the number of touches, have both increased in the last year, right? And so, revenue rockstars kind of think about revenue as really a multi-point, multi-touch customer journey.
Well, I think it's when you don't have to schedule meetings face-to-face and everything is digital virtual because of the pandemic, right? It's Zoom or similar or email or Slack. It's a lot easier to loop more people into the decision-making process. So it actually seems a little counterintuitive, but when you dig a little deeper, it makes sense that the decision-making process in B2B has elongated and includes more people. And so you're exactly right, Chip. Revenue rockstars understand that revenue generation isn't at the point of conversion. Revenue generation is part of all the different touch points that precede that last touch conversion. Really, really important and something that here we are in almost 2022. I think marketing still has a ways to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think, marketing automation initially was built around this concept. And I think this has become only more true over time for marketers to think about.
Absolutely.
So, Jay,
this is the thing. This is my favorite one. This is the one. This is the one right here. This is the one. I have been saying this since I started in this business in 1993. in digital marketing. People have asked me, I don't know, 10,000 times, Jay, what should we do for our business to create revenue? And Chip, I've always had the exact same answer 10,000 times in a row. I don't know, but I know how to find out. And that's what everybody's answer should be, because you don't know. You have some suspicions, hopefully, but you don't actually know what's going to work for anybody under any set of circumstances unless you do what? You test it and optimize it. And this is why, of course, a revenue generation platform like SharpSpring is so valuable, because it allows you to test and optimize all parts of the funnel, all parts of the journey across lots of different marketing executions. But the revenue rock stars that I know are the ones that are the most committed to testing and are the least in love with their own intuition.
Yeah, it's a practiced, tested approach. One of my favorite authors is Malcolm Gladwell. In his book Outliers, he talks about the 10,000 hours to become an expert. I mean, it certainly applies to music. We wouldn't be doing this concert live if we hadn't practiced our craft for years and years. Bands never played live without, unless you're maybe a punk band in 1978.
Right.
Play live.
Yeah, it's good to not be good. Yeah,
without rehearsing. You might not know your instrument then either. But testing and optimizing clearly key in music and in marketing. Talk to me about this, Jay. The scaling.
Well, I think it's a little tricky because all revenue rock stars have to ultimately operate on two frequencies, right? So you're operating on the what are we doing this day, week, maybe month frequency, which is, what revenue are we generating that's right in front of us. But in order to really succeed as a revenue rock star, you also have to be on a different frequency, possibly a higher frequency, or a lower and higher chord, if you want to use the Rockstar paradigm here. And that chord is all about, well, how are we going to generate the next iteration of revenue? How are we going to go from success at this level to success at a bigger level? And you can't figure that out once you get there. You've got to figure it out in advance, right? You've got to be looking around corners and thinking about, all right, what are we going to do 2 years from now? And what blocks are we putting into place today to allow that to be the case? And actually, the Rockstar business works the exact same way, right? Everybody starts playing in a fraternity basement for beer, and then they start making $50 at a local club, and then they start playing a little bit of a bigger club, and then a little bit of a bigger club. And guess what? It's the same for public speakers like myself. It's the same for authors. All those businesses are the same. You've got a ladder, and you have to be looking at the rungs 2 or 3 above where your hands are presently in order to know where to climb.
Yeah. I mean, a big piece on this too, Jay, that I think I would add is, part of the plan and the system to scale is operational, right? And again, means not thinking of yourself as an island in marketing, right? Your job doesn't stop when the lead comes in, right? I mean, in many ways, your job has just begun, So now you have somebody that's raised their hand maybe, and they're interested. Now your real work is beginning as you partner with the sales team to get it over the finish line and scale this into all pieces of your business.
Absolutely.
I love it. And so, Jay, without further ado, right, let's talk through the different series sections we're going to have over the next several months. And, at the beginning, I said we were going to build on the success of our agency acceleration series from last fall, but also add in some of our existing agency partners, and some other marketers that are just having a ton of success driving revenue through their funnel from top to bottom. And so on the 18th of August, I believe the next webinar is here. You're going to all see Mickey Losi, and he'll be talking to Greg Bond, who's our head of revenue here at SharpSpring. And I'm really excited for that because they're going to be talking about moving beyond the pitch and the Rockstar moves that not only win business, but deliver on your promise as a business. And so Mickey's the head of MXTR. They're a great partner. A number of customers on the platform. Super excited to hear from Mickey. After that, early September, we're going to have Karl Sakas. And you know Karl. I'm excited to have Karl back again. We've had him on some webinars before. He's well known in the agency community, certainly. He's got an interesting perspective on what CMOs say when you're not in the room. So you're for an agency and you're kind of wondering, what do my customers talk about when I'm not there? And how can I use that information to scale my business? That's going to be an exciting discussion with Karl.
You got to make sure you ask Karl about his volunteer work. He volunteers as a bartender on an antique train. So you got to make sure you get some info on that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love that, and I love when anybody does something that they're super passionate about. So anxious to talk to Karl more about bartending on an antique train. Then we're going to move into having some more agency partners and some great marketers on. Magee, Clegg, Jason Kramer, and Patrick Schokker are going to work together. And this is really about from a seat at the table to running the table. So how modern marketers are winning revenue. So really some actual real life case studies for how marketers are putting marketing automation into practice in their own businesses, Jay. So, and then we have some other exciting people that you're going to recognize here, Jay, and you take it over here with Ann.
In October, we're going to have America's marketing sweetheart, Ann Handley. We'll be doing a webinar, I think, on creativity in small business, but we haven't followed up fully on her topic just yet. Ann is recovering from a shoulder surgery, so best wishes to Ann as she is recuperating at home. Cannot wait to see her unfurl her content in October. It will definitely be worth your time. In November, what's that?
I was just going to say, yeah, if anybody has read Ann's newsletter, it's great writing. Right? I mean, she's one of the best content marketers around. And one of the things that I definitely want to talk to her about is just writing for response.
Yes,
as that relates, to this entire series. So that's going to be a portion of what she talks about. I'm definitely going to ask her about it, Jay.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. In November, America's most famous bald marketer, more famous than Chip House, the one, the only, you know him, you love him, Seth Godin, will be part of the Revenue Rockstars program. Seth needs probably no introduction, has written 19 best-selling books on marketing, has founded several major corporations. He's going to talk about modern marketing, how to organize for growth. Really excited about that, and any time spent with Seth is time well spent.
Perfect.
Then also in November, we're going to have a duo. Marnie Ochs-Raleigh and Sheena Graham are going to come together to do a session called In the Winds of Change, Marketers Rise. How Rockstars roll with change to unlock revenue, which is going to be really interesting. Ann Handley and myself worked with Marnie early this year in a program that we partnered on with SharpSpring to help Marnie's agency make some changes and tackle more revenue. It's going to be really interesting to hear her reports on those initiatives. And Sheena is a really smart marketer that runs a full service agency as well. So it's going to be great to hear for the two of them.
Yeah, both super smart marketers on the SharpSpring platform. So excited to hear from both of them again, for sure.
In December, Shama Hyder, who is a spectacular author, speaker, CEO, visionary, founder, television personality, Shama is going to bring her very, very special brand of advice and counsel to the Revenue Rockstars series. Not only has she built a very, very successful agency at Zen Media, she has helped a lot of other people do the same. So can't wait for that. And then we're going to close her out with Drew McClellan, who is the owner of the Agency Management Institute, AMI. and he is a consultant and advisor to hundreds and hundreds of agencies. The Agency Management Institute is a training and peer networking group for agency owners that some of you may know about. Drew has forgotten more about the agency business than most of us will ever know. He is always entertaining and really has so many real world examples because he's just around it all the time. That's going to be a great way to close her out in January.
Yeah, super excited to have Drew, and he's also on the SharpSpring platform and knows just a ton about the agency market, as you mentioned, Jay. So, by the way, I think there are 11 total speakers there, Jay.
Is that right?
Does that
there
mean
are
anything
11 total speakers, and of course, that makes perfect sense because 11 is the number of rock. 666 is the number of the beast. 11 is the number of the rock. As those of you who are fans of This Is Spinal Tap, my favorite movie of all time, will know, Nigel Tufnell, the guitarist for Spinal Tap, when asked how come his amplifier goes to 11, he said, well, if 10 is the loudest, 11 must be one louder. And that's how we feel about this Revenue Rockstar series. It is one louder than any other series you might have access to. So we have 11 speakers. 11, the number of rock. What else do we have in the batch of 11, Chip?
We've got other stuff, and I'll spare you my Nigel Tufnell British accent, but we've got we've got the top 11 agency and digital marketing problems that we're going to be trying to address here during the series. And let's drill into these a little bit more, and let's just kind of bring up you and I to talk about them, Jay.
Yeah, for sure. We've got 11 speakers with a question, and we talked a little bit about some of their potential topics, but ultimately, what problems are we going to solve for you, the potential and future Revenue Rockstar? The first one is a problem that a lot of people are faced with, which is not fully understanding what it is that you're selling. Like what exactly is the idea here? So often, I think, Chip, people come at this from a perspective of what do I have to sell or what can I monetize, instead of taking a quick step back and saying, well, what is it that people actually need? Because maybe it's not necessarily what it is that you're selling. You got to repackage and reconstitute the entire idea. For example, nobody in the history of the world has ever actually needed socks. But everybody in the history of the world has needed their feet to be warmer. Good marketers think, I need to sell socks. Great marketers think, I'll bet you people's feet are cold. And there's a big difference in approach in that construct there.
I think another thing you've said, which just stuck with me, so I'll just add in there for one of my favorite metaphors of all time, Jay, is if you need a hole in the wall, you need a drill. If you need a hole in a mammoth, you need a spear, right? I mean, it's the same. It's
Indeed.
Similar concept. Know what you're selling.
Indeed. Yeah. The second one to think about it, and these are all sort of before you get into the classic marketing funnel, is not really knowing your target audience. And what I sort of mean by this is, too often, I think marketers are looking for the largest possible audience. The thought being, if we reach a bunch of people, some of them surely will need to buy socks. But the reality is, the better way to approach marketing, and Seth Godin will probably talk about this, is to find the smallest enthusiastic audience. Not the largest possible audience, but the smallest enthusiastic audience. Most marketing fails not because it's too narrow, but rather because it is too broad. So the more you know about your target audience, the better you will be, the more of a revenue rockstar you will be. And of course, a platform like SharpSpring allows you to know a lot about your audience using personas and lead scoring and all kinds of automagic stuff behind the scenes. It almost forces you to be smarter in this regard.
Yeah. Now, who's your ideal customer? Who are the people inside those organizations you're selling to?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And here's the third one, which is, I don't know if anybody's paying attention now. I might know something like how many people like my Instagram post or how many people visit my website, but I don't really know whether those people are potential buyers or they're just looky-loos or they're totally unqualified in any way. Understanding not just existing attention, but whether that attention is qualified and whether it has any hope of buying something from you is definitely a revenue rock star move. Then we get into the next batch of funnels. The fourth one. Okay, the fourth one up there. This is, we talked a second ago, Chip, about not knowing whether targeted and qualified audiences are paying attention today. I don't know how often I get asked this question. How much money should we be spending on Facebook ads, or how much should we be spending on Google ads, or whatever the circumstances may be? And that's a relevant question to ask, but you've got to actually have a plan for how to answer it, because what most people do is they're like, well, it probably works. We'll just spend more money. And that's not always the best approach. So making sure you've got a plan for knowing when it makes financial sense to spend money and even time to create awareness, that's one of the things that we're going to work on in this series. The fifth one is something Chip mentioned in my book, Utility, in my introduction, is something that I think is incredibly important, even though I wrote that book probably 10 years ago. Still important, probably more important today than when I wrote it 10 years ago, which is ultimately, in most businesses, your mileage may vary, but in most businesses, your prospective customers are not going to be ready to buy instantaneously, right? They're going to have to consider it and talk to other people, as Chip said. And so you've got to give them some value in exchange for the rights to interact with them. Seth Godin, of course, pioneered the concept of permission marketing probably 20 years ago. And here we are still talking about it today. It's one of the things I like best about SharpSpring is the ability to very easily build an early stage relationship with a prospect by giving them something of value, like a Revenue Rockstar series, and then nurturing that relationship over time. Sixth one is, I feel like I should have a drum roll. Chip, play drum roll.
I'm not trying to add too much time to each one of these. I want to make sure that we get through them and I don't add too much color.
Is not understanding how to convert awareness into action. We talked about a second ago, this idea of adding value to prospects and making sure that you understand the different ways that you can impact your conversion rate. If you've got 100 people coming to your website, okay, what you should be focused on is how to get 5 of those 100 people to fill out a form, not getting another 100 people, right? People always spend too much time on awareness and awareness creation as opposed to conversion optimization. That's one of the problems we're going to work on in this series.
Yeah, if you are a full funnel revenue marketer, you think about that stuff, you obsess about it, you test landing pages, you test your lead magnets, things like that.
Yep. The seventh one is really critical. I talked about nurture a second ago. This idea of, all right, well, I collected their email address, and maybe they're not ready to buy. Okay, that's cool. They're going to be ready to buy eventually. What do I send them in between? In between them raising their hand and saying I'm interested, in between that and here's my money, like what is that relation? What do you send them? When do you send it? As you said, Chip, Ann's got a terrific email newsletter. I have a new email newsletter as well. This idea of how often do you send it? What's included in that email? Really important. We'll talk about that in the series, and I'm sure we'll cover it in her session in October.
Yeah.
Eighth problem we're going to solve for you in the Revenue Rockstars series is, how do you keep the experience consistent for the customer or the prospect across lifecycle and departments? So if they're an early stage customer, not a customer, versus they are a customer, versus now they're talking to customer service or customer success or sales or someone else, it's amazing how often you talk to different people or different departments in a business and it feels like a totally different company. Like, did you know that you guys work on the same business? And there's a lot of ways to make that better. And it's something that we're absolutely going to talk about in this series.
I just like to add, I mean, that is the promise of a platform like SharpSpring, of a true revenue growth platform where you have a shared CRM and a single set, a unified database, a unified CRM. So your marketing people, your sales people, your service people look at that, manna from having a single view of the customer that marketers always think about.
It's made a huge difference in my own business. Just bringing sales and marketing together with one platform has really changed a lot of things in the business. So Chip's exactly right. The ninth one is, all right, cool. Somebody was interested and we got their email address and then we sent them some things over time and now maybe they are ready. Are they ready to give us money now? How do you know when the prospect is ready to make a purchase? And as I mentioned a bit ago, it's one of my favorite parts of SharpSpring, or really any marketing automation platform, is the lead scoring piece of it, right? So in SharpSpring, I can look in 2 seconds and look at anybody who subscribes to my email newsletter and see who's opened, how often, how recently, how many times they've been to the website, what pages of the website they've looked at, other email exchanges, webinars attended, blah, 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 blah. And then all of that creates a lead score. And so once somebody sort of trips a lead score threshold, it sends an alert to the sales team. This person is making behavioral choices indicative of somebody being ready to buy. That is gold. It makes your sales team so much more efficient and effective because they're not wasting time following up with people who haven't demonstrated that they're ready yet.
Yep. Talk to people with a pulse.
Yes,
or
exactly.
intent is there. Yeah.
Intent. Yep. 10th one is not following up with prospects efficiently. The lead scoring will help because it narrows down your list, but then also not understanding, well, how does that prospect want to be communicated with? Do they want to be called? They want to be emailed? They want text? Do they want live chat? How do we keep track of all of that? So often salespeople kind of try to keep their own paperwork. Like, well, I've got a list on my desktop in Excel of the people I follow up with. I actually talked to some folks in Marnie's agency about that at one point, that we kind of keep our own counsel in terms of our follow-up list. And one of the things that we're going to talk about in this series is how to do that better, how to use team-wide tools like integrated calendaring, like integrated video calls, like tracking emails sent from individual salespeople. All of that stuff rolls together and makes your sales team follow-up much, much more efficient and effective. The last one, the 11th problem that we're going to solve in the Revenue Rockstar series, is not knowing how to turn a one-time buyer into a repeat customer. I tell you what, there are no Revenue Rockstars that own a leaky bucket. It's just not possible, right? If your clients are buying and then not rebuying, you will never achieve your goals because you never have that compounding revenue effect that kind of gets you to the next rung of the ladder. So in some ways, the most important thing you can do as a revenue rockstar is to find a way to get your customers to be bigger customers, repeat customers, turn them into advocates, etc. I think we all know that to be true intellectually, but sometimes we don't do things as marketers for this to become true. So we'll talk about that in the series as well.
Yeah, the customer journey doesn't stop when they become a customer, right? In many ways, it's going to continue on.
And look, I get it, right? A lot of teams, marketers are rewarded for net new revenue, not necessarily recurring revenue. So some of that's just the way marketers are compensated or treated. But we'll talk about that in the program.
Yeah, thank you, Jay, for going through that. That was phenomenal. The as Nigel Tufnell says, this one goes to 11. We're going to be hoping to address all these in the different sessions you're going to see with both thought leaders. And we're not going to hit them all in every one, to be clear, right? But this is sort of thinking through a funnel. What are the problems that marketers, struggle with? And we're going to want to hit all of these at some point through the series. And we're going to hear from experts on how to do that. And then I didn't mention it because he's not on the slide, but Jay will join us back at the end of the series, also in January, and kind of help us recap the series.
Greatest hits.
And greatest hits. What did we learn? Jay, there's another exciting 11 thing here that we're able to offer.
Yeah, I forgot about this. So yes, we mentioned earlier that I used to be a DJ in college. So I put together for you friends right now. Grab your phone, shoot the QR code. It'll go to Spotify. This is my top 11 playlist for modern marketing for Revenue Rockstar. These are all rock songs, as you can probably discern from the playlist. I actually legit spent some time on this, so that it's a little bit for everybody. Definitely some dad rock stylings there of a man of my vintage. I'll give you that. But I guarantee you that this is all gold, no mold. You're going to like this playlist very much. Tune into it. Please send me a note. I'm easy to find. I'd love your comments and thoughts on the Baer Top 11 playlist for modern marketing.
It's a great list, Jay. You've got some classic rock. You've got some Seattle grunge in there. You got the Strokes, got Tragically Hip, great Canadian band, good stuff. So
thank you.
Everybody
work hard on that.
I am of a similar vintage, and it's what my kids call, oh, you're listening to that band music, Dad. Yes,
yeah,
that's what I'm listening to, that band music. And,
I think we should have. I think we should have each of our 11 guests in the series put together their own playlist and run that in their webinar, so that we end up with 11 playlists at the end of this deal.
I'm hoping we do that, and then we can. I don't think everybody's going to do it, to be honest, but I'm hoping we can get a lot of the contributors to add their own playlists or top albums, and then we can build a whole
the Seth
Spotify
Godin modern marketing playlist. I think we can make it happen. No
question. Seth, being as cool of a guy as he is, I'm just curious as heck to know what he listens to. So
exactly, I can't wait.
Yeah. So the other thing that I may have mentioned, maybe I didn't early on in this series, is just for attending, right? I mentioned you're going to get a recording of this session. You're also going to get a copy of Jay's lead generation funnel that he uses in his business and with a number of customers. And if you end up doing business with SharpSpring, we're going to help you build this, right? We'll help you build it on our platform. And Jay, anything else you want to say about this? This will be coming out to you all probably in an email next week.
By the way, Chip, I just got an email. I just looked at my computer. I got an email from Karl Sakas, who's watching us right now. Hey, Karl, thanks for tuning in, with a picture of him as the bartender in the antique train. So I'm telling you, we'll make sure the picture is included in Karl's session. It's not to be missed. Hello, Karl. This is actually my real funnel. As I mentioned a moment ago, I just started a new newsletter called the Baer Facts, and this is literally the funnel that I used to build the subscription sequence and the nurture sequence for that newsletter. And so I talk all about how I built it and why, and sort of my tips for an effective funnel. So you're going to get that for free, ladies and gentlemen.
Super excited to see that, and everybody can receive that if you're again attending this series. Again, some people have not registered. You're just watching this via live stream. We're doing it live. So here's another reason to attend these additional sessions: is there's a concert ticket giveaway for you and your best significant other of sorts, or just your pal, to go to a real live rock concert. And it's going to be a $300 value, and just super excited to be able to offer this. And, I know I have not seen enough live music in the last 12 to 15 months, Jay. I don't know if you have. I've only seen a few things, and excited to go to many more concerts again.
Absolutely. Let's hope that's the case. You can also use this, if for whatever reason you're not a huge music fan, you can use this gift card that you will receive for sports tickets, for theater, for opera, if that's your jam, for the ballet, for, I don't know, Gallagher, if he's still out there working the comedy circuit. I'm not certain. Weird Al, whatever you want, whatever you need.
And again, this is a raffle. So we're going to do this live on the 18th when you come back for Mickey Losi and Greg Bond. So please show up. You get a chance to win some concert tickets. And as I mentioned before, I needed another slide here talking again about the concert T-shirt. But if you register, you sign up for a demo to see SharpSpring, we're going to give you a copy of that awesome Revenue Rockstars T-shirts rather. And Jay, that we're about 40 minutes in. I'm not sure that we have to drill into a lot of questions. Is there anything you want to build on or add to our session today?
Just that we encourage you to attend live these sessions so that you can ask questions of the guests, right? The opportunity to ask and Handley questions, Seth Godin questions, Marnie and Shama and Drew and Karl and everybody else That opportunity doesn't come along that often. So tune in live if you can. If you can't make it live, we understand. We're going to record them all for your convenience. But we would love for you to tune in. It's going to be a really great series. As you can tell, it's really laser focused, this session, across the next 6 months on revenue generation and full funnel modern marketing. I'm really excited to address those 11 problems that we articulated today, Chip.
Yeah, Jay, great job. It was phenomenal to hear the top 11 problems and your top 11 songs. Again, I wanted to mention, if you've registered for the series, again, can we bring up just the URL one more time? SharpSpring.com/revenue Rockstars. And if you're not registered, you can register there. We'll let you know before these other sessions happen. You're going to get a copy of Jay's lead funnel. If you can get a copy of the T-shirt with a demo, and we'll also be raffling off that ticket giveaway. So really appreciate everybody attending today. And Jay, any final thoughts? Otherwise, I'm just going to say thank you, everyone.
August 18th, first one, right?
That's it. Yeah.
Be there for it. Win yourself some concert tickets.
I saw a question just come in here. Any online community to join, or Facebook or LinkedIn group? I love the idea. We definitely have a SharpSpring monikers to follow in all those platforms, and maybe we'll spin one up. I think we're talking about doing some creative, fun stuff for the series. So yeah,
terrific.
All right, Jay. Thanks
you,
and
appreciate
thanks
it.
everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Good to see y'all.